There are 3 common myths that keep small businesses from leveraging the power of video marketing. Let's get into it.
Video Mavericks, the small business video marketing podcast. Presented by Workshop Media. With your hosts, Brett and Jeff, sharing a combined 40 years of video production and marketing experience. Take it away.
Today, we're getting into the myths and misconceptions all around video marketing for small businesses. There's some key things that are keeping people from getting into it. We're going to go over 3 of those today. But before we get into that, we haven't always been on board with video marketing.
That's right.
Early on, we've been in video production. We were super passionate about that. Didn't really realize the power of video beyond production. We were keenly focused on making content, making it at an extremely high level, turning it over to the client, and walking away.
And hoping that there was going to be some level of success after we got rid of it.
That's exactly right. And
so to clear it up, we were not always on board with video marketing because marketing seems like such a large pool to swim in, right?
That's it, yep.
But video marketing specifically is quite literally utilizing the content, the storytelling, and all of that and everything that entails, and putting it in the right place for the right audience, right?
Yeah.
So we were hyper focused on creative.
That's it. Incredibly passionate about making really cool stuff, to be completely honest.
And that's still the case.
It's still the case. But what we've learned after years and years of doing this at a really high level is that if you don't take the content all the way to the finish line and getting it in front of the people that need to see it, then it's just something cool to put on the fridge. And that's not the point when we're talking about reaching business goals.
Yep, and ROI, right? It's always about ROI.
That's it, which is a great segue into our first myth. Myth number 1, video marketing is too expensive.
That's subjective, right? You know,
Absolutely.
It's too expensive. What does that actually mean? A lot of things are expensive. It depends on, what it is that you consider to be a high cost. But if we think about it being an investment in your business's success, then it kind of changes the perception of what expensive is.
Absolutely. There's in small business and business in general, there are known costs that everyone are going to have to pay. Some things that, are very obvious that come to mind is the overhead of maintaining a space. You don't question that.
Has to be done.
You spend the money to put the roof, over your head, and you're going to pay monthly bills to make sure things are taken care of. You got to pay insurance and things like this. And it's an investment into running a business. And when you start to think about your marketing efforts in the same way, this is a non-negotiable must-have.
Yep.
Then the cost becomes relative, and sure, it can be expensive. If we were to say, is it pennies? No, not good quality content. But if you think about a percentage return, it changes things pretty substantially in a hurry.
Right. And I bet if we were to say investing in video marketing could give you the potential of reaching X amount over a period of time, and if your business could say that percentage being converted to a customer would bring in X amount of revenue, I think that's definitely it's a much greater case for saying it's an investment and not a cost or just an expense.
Yeah, it would be very easy to say I'm spending, and if you think about it in terms of production, right? So if we don't
video production,
so yes. If you think about in terms of video production, not taking it through the entire marketing funnel, it'd be easy to call it an expense.
Right, yeah.
If you say I'm going to pay a vendor to come in and make something for me and hand it to me, there is no return on that investment. $0.
You just drew it back to our aha moment where we were making quite a bit of content for many years and doing that exact same thing.
It's $0 return until it goes to work for you. And so, if you're looking at video production as up to the point of the video being done and trying to make sense of that, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yep.
So that's where the back end of that comes from. And That's implementation and strategy and how you're actually going to take the content to the viewer.
Yep.
That's what takes it from an expense to an investment, which is now it's obvious.
How much do you want to invest for the proper success, the growth and scale of your business and whatever initiative it is that you have at the time? Video marketing is going to help that. So it does cost. You get what you pay for in a lot of cases, but too expensive, I think, is too broad a net to cast, right?
Absolutely. Now, there are some things, and I think it's probably worth going over. There are some things that once you make that decision to go into video marketing and using it as a tool, and once you've accepted that there is ROI that's worthwhile, there are ways to maintain budget constraints. There are ways to do things in a strategic way, in an efficient way, to keep your costs maybe within budget and manageable so that the expectations are met, right?
Yep.
Coming from a production background, I think we can say with certainty that the pre-production phase is by far the most important phase when it comes to saving on cost.
Yep.
And how you plan your content and how you plan your production days with your video partner will help make sure that you are getting every single ounce out that you can from the time that's invested on set.
Right.
So there are things like that are worth considering. And when you're working with a partner, asking those questions and making sure that they understand that, hey, I have a set budget. I don't want this to creep. I want to use my production time to maximize my outcome while I have my CEO in the chair for an interview. What else can we get?
Yep.
How can we stretch this out so that this content that we're making, this production that we're on right now, is going to give us as much return as it possibly can. So
that's right. If you're not getting a production company or your video partner, if you're not getting their suggestions in this area, then they're probably not going to be the full service solution you need. If they're not helping you maximize your budget and providing or presenting these options to get the most return on that investment, then you should probably continue the search, because that's pretty huge, right? And these are all points to sort of say too expensive, right?
Absolutely.
Again, a little subjective, so it can be expensive, but you can get a lot more return on that investment by finding the right partner that's going to, do right by you in your budget.
All right. I think that wraps up number one.
Boom. Debunked.
Absolutely. Let's jump into myth number two. So this one, video marketing is only for big brands.
It is for big brands, and big brands do it very well. But to say that it's only for big brands or giant marketing budgets it's false. That's a myth.
Absolutely, it's false. There's a reason they're doing it. It's because it works.
Yep. And they have the money. They have the large budgets to have the data to come back to suggest they should do things this way or that way. But that doesn't mean it's not for a small business.
That's exactly right. When a large company does a video marketing campaign, it's very obvious because it's everywhere.
Right.
So of course you're going to see it.
They're attacking the space.
Of course you're going to see it, and it's going to be impossible to miss. But you don't have to have a Super Bowl ad, and to think that you have to have the budgets of those extremely large organizations is categorically false. The marginal returns from a small business getting into video marketing and doing it for the first time is going to be comparable to some of the biggest brands doing it at the highest level.
Yeah, right. It's just a scale.
That's exactly right. You have to think about what your business goals are and don't compare them to businesses that are, 50 years in, 100 years in, and they've got household names.
There are companies out, especially with social media, there are companies that do very well with $0 of ad spend doing an organic reach with video. So, that alone is saying that, small brands can become big brands by doing this and not spending any extra on ad spend, but just putting it into strategy, production, and implementation.
Yeah. So to think that small brands are not using video marketing is absolutely 100% false.
The big brands have already done it in terms of how to potentially hook their audience, the story they're telling as they go through that ad, and then the way they're offering whatever it is at the end of it. They've done the planning, the doing, the checking, and the adjusting. They've done it all over again. You can use all of that to your advantage and only do the creation and the implementation one time at a much lower cost and still play ball the way they do.
Absolutely.
Right. So
why not?
Only for the big brands.
Yeah. Why not use the hard work that they've done with their massive teams and 8 figures plus to sort it out and go and figure out how to do it for your business at a scale that makes sense for what you're doing. Before we jump off of this one, I'm a stats guy. I like numbers. I think if there's any opportunity for me to go, hey, this is empirical data, I absolutely want to see it. A site that we like to look at on an annual basis that does market research for video marketing is one called Wise Owl, and their 2024 stats came out recently. They reported that 91% of businesses use video as a marketing tool.
I want to know the ones that aren't. Like, that's a small percentage.
91% are using it.
Yeah. That's 91%. That's huge.
But I wonder if that 9% has done some video, but they don't see it as video marketing, because it'd be really hard for me to believe that even that small of a number has not touched video in any single way. Right. They might be looking, I can imagine a world where you look at something like a product video that you have hidden, tucked away on your website doesn't count. Right. But all of that is using video as a tool to move a metric. So I'm not saying that's what happened, but I am saying
still, they got a question at 91%. What are the other ones?
What are the other ones doing, and how are they doing it? Is that 91% successful businesses? Are those other 9 just barely hanging on?
So consider this: a business owner has a video that they filmed of themselves, interacting with their product and doing a little tutorial, and they're showing that on their phone to people that might ask
in a trade show.
Or at a grocery store.
That's video marketing.
That's video marketing, right?
And another one that I want to throw in before we bounce off of this one is that they found that 87% of consumers said that video quality impacts their trust in a brand. So when we're thinking about big brands, they're putting quality into their content because they know that quality matters. Yeah. And so at a small scale, it's, as you move from not doing any of it or scaling up, don't forget about quality. So while you can do the home video in your pocket version, quality is still important. The data tells us that 87% of consumers say that quality impacts their trust in a brand. So
I love that. We always talk about building a foundation of quality content to properly represent your brand, properly showcase your business in the best way, the way you think about it, the way you feel about your own business. You should show it off that way. Your first impression, build that platform, and then use UGC, to user-generated content, to stack on top of that foundation, right?
I think that squares away myth number 2. It's not just for big brands.
It sure isn't. And you should be, it's debunked. You should be out there doing it.
All right, Jeff, myth number 3. This one's about as absurd. My customers don't watch videos.
My customers don't watch videos. Like, the biggest myth ever.
Yeah.
Couldn't be mythier. Really, though.
Did you invent a word?
Yeah, that's right.
I don't know how you can go through 2024 and not interact with video in any way. As much as some of us might want to avoid technology for a minute every once in a while.
It could be we're numb to it now because we're always watching videos. We don't even realize that we're watching them now.
Absolutely.
I know that's kind of heady, but you very quickly you go, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Hold on a second. Where's my phone?
Where's my phone?
I got to go to the bathroom. I got some videos I got to scroll through while I'm in there. It's like, it was never like that, but that's the case now. We're always watching video.
Or if you're, you could be walking into a business and there's a video screen in the business, or you're traveling and you're in the airport and there's digital displays everywhere, or billboards now will sometimes play video content. I mean, to think that you have customers that are genuinely not consuming content at all. I would go out on them and say it's 100% untrue that all of your customers don't watch videos.
I would also suggest, if you really believe that, let's question it. You're assuming that based on my industry, based on my business and what I know of my customers, there's no chance they watch video. I'm not going to market my business with video and storytelling to really make a connection and engage with them in some way. They don't watch them. That has to be a false belief.
It's a
right?
fallacy. Yeah. It may be because no one in your industry that you've interacted with
Like it's not common.
is doing it.
Yeah, maybe it's not as common.
Maybe it's not as common. And maybe the types of content that you feel like would resonate with your customer, you haven't seen.
Ooh. That's a good take.
That doesn't mean that it doesn't have a place in a marketing strategy. Sure, it may look different than it does for Coca-Cola.
Right.
There's always space for sharing stories, and there's always space for sharing information. And there has never been a better time than right now to share it in a more effective way than we can with video content.
And let's remember there's a variety of different platforms, a variety of different ways to engage with video.
Absolutely.
You might be saying, no, my customers don't watch it. I don't need Instagram video.
They're not
It's
on
like,
TikTok. Well, okay.
You might be right there, but there's so many ways to connect with video, and not doing it because of a false belief, you're leaving a lot on the table, right?
Absolutely. We've done video content for business to business relationships.
Yeah.
Where that content won't ever be seen outside of a private server when it's shared directly with the customer.
That's right.
And in some of those cases, it's training material, but you better believe that material was created with marketing in mind. It trained their customer, their business partner on something, all the while continuing to market with that business partner to keep doing business with them.
At the time of this show, it's 2024, and we're just there. Everybody's watching videos in one way or another. That's just a false belief.
Yeah.
Customers don't watch videos.
Sometimes we like to pick on each other a little bit over the screen time thing in the phone.
Ugh.
You can open up on the iPhone, at least you can open up and take a look at the amount of time that you spend on a particular platform a day. And
It's ugly. Yeah,
there's nothing more humbling than having data staring back at you for how much time you actually spend consuming content.
Reporting back on your habits.
Yeah. So if you ever want to kind of be honest with yourself, take a look at how much time you actually spend on a device.
It's even better to check the apps that are more video focused. You'll really know that you're watching videos.
YouTube is crazy for me.
Yeah, you're consuming content. So I think we debunked that one, didn't we? So
Absolutely.
Everybody's watching. I mean, we just kind of basically said that that you're just wrong.
That's it.
Everybody watches videos. So that one squashed.
Yeah. It's not too expensive.
Nope.
It's based on ROI. I mean, at the very base level, it's based on ROI. And if you look at it that way, it changes everything.
Bottom line is it's an investment.
Small businesses can use video.
They should.
It's not just for big brands. Big brands do it well. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be a part of it. You absolutely should be.
Big brands are making it easier for you.
And everybody watches it. Your customers are watching video.
Meet them where they are with the content.
Let's assume that somebody watching this has gone, you know what? You're right.
Say it again.
You were right.
All right, Brett, let's get into actionable next steps.
Let's say they've gone from, I thought it was too expensive. Now I understand that ROI is really the litmus test for whether or not I should be doing something. Video marketing does sound like the right move. How do I get going? You got to understand where your business is going, because everything comes from a goal setting platform.
Yep.
It should be. If it's not, then you need to talk to somebody different.
Don't make video if you don't know what your business goals are. That's because then you're going to have that bad taste in your mouth, right? You're going to go, I tried it. I hired a videographer, came out and filmed, and the content looked great. Nobody saw it. Know what you're after. Know what you're making, what goals you have. Make sure all your key stakeholders are aligned. Right, this is coming from a place. This is like deep within, right? This is going.
It feels very honest.
Yeah, this is like So how could video producers like us? How could marketers say don't do this, right? Because there is a step you have to take first.
Well, we don't want for anyone to interact with the industry that we're a part of and leave with a bad taste in their mouth.
That's exactly right.
So at a very basic level, if you're not positioned for success by knowing something as basic as your business goals, you'd be better off not moving forward.
Not yet.
Don't do it yet. Understand where you're going so that you know how to get there.
Keep the end in mind, right? You got to see that first and then go, oh, video is just a vehicle to get there.
Yeah. So
we're not just making video because my neighbor did it and he said, I know this production company and you got to try them out. Don't do that.
If you find success in that way, the likelihood that it's going to be repeatable is random.
Yeah, you might that off chance of falling into the algo river.
Yeah.
I like that one. You're gonna want to have that strategy. So once you have those business goals in place, right? You got marketing goals that can sort of support that.
And you set those specifically.
Yes.
So marketing goals should be set for overarching marketing goals, and then campaign specific goals. That's
so
right.
The video marketing goals after that strategy is extremely important. But then who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Who we actually...
It's mind-boggling how often that question in a room full of executives leads to multiple answers or no answer at all.
Yep.
We ask, when we're working with a client on something like this, we always want to know who you're talking to. And we need to know pointedly, what are we trying to get them to do?
Yep.
So if we can't understand who the target audience is or understand what action they need to take, it's going to be really hard to make good, solid, creative choices that support that.
Yep. Because we're always walking backwards from that, right? What
That's
are the
exactly
marketing goals?
right.
What are we actually doing to
That's
achieve
right.
your business desires, right? And not knowing the audience. We often get, who's the audience? It's everyone. We're speaking, we want everybody to know. It's like, well,
I want everyone to know too.
that's a very, it's too broad, I think.
That's right.
Right? So if that's the case, you make an awareness piece.
That's
then
right.
you make another piece to supplement that.
Yeah,
if you're
so-
going to say it's an everyone audience.
That's a great point. So, at the top of the funnel, we have awareness, and awareness is a good place to kind of generally have people know who your brand is. But even then, awareness to a potential customer versus awareness to a potential employee, a
Yep.
potential investor, a business partner.
That's four. I just heard four videos right there.
It's
right?
all- it's-
Segment that audience.
They're so different.
for your message, right?
Yeah. Otherwise, unless you have this just perfect business structure where all of those people are the exact same person,
Yeah, right.
then you really need to speak to them differently.
That's it. So business goals, then marketing goals. Know your target audience. See how we're kind of like chipping away. You're starting to get to a point. We haven't even gotten to creative yet. This is
That's
just
right.
getting started. Build the foundation now. What's your message? What are you trying to achieve? Who are you speaking to with this content? So awareness, consideration, conversion, those are things that we usually do in our foundation of content. And then from there, you can kind of iterate. You can change. You can say, hey, that message kind of worked. Maybe we shape it a little differently now. We'll run those again, or we'll replace that video with a new one because we got some new information that came along. But all of that is built on strategy.
Yeah. And then you wrap creative around it. And that's when it gets fun. And that's when your brand becomes approachable and likable and trustworthy.
Yes.
And those things can't those things can't happen if you don't know those goals and target audience first. So
we have big plans ahead to deliver more expert advice, tips and tricks, more of our experience from being in a video production and marketing journey. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be made aware of our next episodes that launch down the line.
thanks so much.
Yeah.
See you next time.